What's up, everybody? Mark with Kardavox Academy here, and today we're checking out Jinjer, Hedonist, one-take vocal playthrough. And now you're probably thinking, Mark, this is like 2 weeks old. What were you doing? Where were you? You know what? I was doing what I want. I wanted to try putting a vocal performance of my own on the channel, and I did. I was prepping dinner while doing a Kardashev song, and I wanted to do an album review of Shadow of Intent's most recent release, and I did, and people loved both, so I'm going to be doing more of those. But back to the bread and butter. I want to talk about Tatiana's voice in Jinjer. A, because it's really fun, and B, because there's usually a lot of educational content. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I'm a harsh vocalist myself of 16, 17, 15 years, something like that, and a vocal coach. I've been teaching people how to make sounds like or safely and efficiently so they meet their metal vocal goals and dreams. And that's what I do full time, 6 days a week. Give vocal lessons, make vocal content, write metal vocal music. So let's get into it. Let's check out Tatiana, Jinjer, Hedonist, one take. I've actually never heard this song by Jinjer, or if I have, I don't remember. And that's not anything about Jinjer. I just have a really bad memory. So if I heard it and don't remember, that's not me saying the song's not memorable. That's just me saying I'm kind of an idiot. And I don't remember most things. So here we go. Let's check it out.
Postpone joy in grand refusal of all the pleasures, right and wrong. I crave all pleasures, mine is pain. Let's have it my way, let it be no better gain. Drowning in wine, my cup I refill. Indulging in desire,
I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. I do pause a lot, so if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. You'll live. But people are usually really cool about it. I just like to be cheeky. I just like to be like, you know, old man shakes fist at cloud. People rarely get on my case about it. But I want to talk about a couple things. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, I am primarily a harsh vocalist. I do mostly screaming stuff. But in Kardashev, the band that I am the vocalist of, I do a lot of clean singing. And I'll always view myself as a harsh vocalist first, but let's talk about her clean voice. She is utilizing something that is incredibly useful for any harsh vocalist out there. In fact, it's gotten to the point where almost all of my students, either with me or with Kardavox Academy's other vocal coach, Verona, who focuses on the clean singing side of things, they're going to be using twang. They're going to be learning how to utilize twang because twang is such an effective way of getting our voice forward, bright, and under control. Now, you can hear it strong. I don't remember a lot of these melodies, so I'm not going to try to sing them back to you because I'm still fairly confident. I've never heard this song. But if I was to sing with like an exaggerated sense of twang, and instead of going like, you know, la, 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 some twang might be la, 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 yeah, 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 like that sort of sound, that bright, very forward, if you're making fun of a very stereotypical New York, New Jersey, hey, I'm walking here sort of voice, right? Sort of sound. Why does that matter? Why is that helpful? Well, first of all, it's a great way when you're not exaggerating like I was to make yourself slip right into like a rock or contemporary tone. Like she's not putting a lot of grit on her voice, but her voice is undeniably rock and metal right now. And a lot of that is coming from the delivery, the addition of twang, that hey, oh yeah, like that sort of sound, right? Now, it's also very useful for our harsh vocals because when we are utilizing twang, what's going to happen is the top of our larynx, the laryngeal funnel, is going to narrow slightly. Now, we don't really feel that. It's not something where we're squeezing. It's just a natural change of the upper vocal anatomy in order to brighten those upper frequencies. Right? It pairs really nicely with vowels like ooh, my tea has been steeping for too long. I'm a bit under the weather. Not too bad. I think it's just allergies, a little scratchy throat. Post-nasal drip, so I've got some rooibos tea over here to soothe the throat. But anyway, I'm going to leave that in. I'm too lazy to cut it out. This narrowing of the top of the throat can be really useful for hanging on to air when we're doing our vocals, especially if we're doing false chord vocals, which can be kind of air dumpy, as well as creating a good tone. So for example, if I'm going to do like a basic false chord noise, which is not what she's doing here, well, what she will be doing here, I'm sure. If I'm going to do like a basic false chord vocal, A, I, whoa, and I don't have any sort of gentle narrowing, or we can manage airflow by including a little bit of vocal tone as well. That's not generally what I do, but you absolutely can. You know, we're going to have this big air dump. Hey, hi, oh. And if I change that to my clean voice, hey, yo guys, what's going on? Now, what if I change my vocal tract shape to, hey guys, what's going on? Now, I'm not going to use my vocal cords because I don't really like to fucking do that. But what if I put distortion through that same shape? Whoa, much more easy to manage. Now, I want you to listen to the way she snarls, the way she kind of curls her lips and her mouth around these vowels, because it's very much a trademark of this like rock and metal singing style. And I would also like to point out that she's utilizing twang to add a sense of power to her voice. We don't hear her pressing on her vocal cords. She's not going like, you know, la-da-dee-da. She's going la-da-dee-yeah, right? So there's openness but control, and the twang is adding a lot of a sense of grandiosity to her voice, which without her having to squeeze and press into it. So anyway, let's keep going.
Life is so momentary, love is so brief. I bask in delight, my opulence, my gift. Let it be no pain, let it be no pain.
Yeah, you can really hear it when the way she's saying let it, right? She's not saying like let it versus let it. Well, that was just lower, but she's got that let it, yeah, right? She's got that brightness. And right after I was like, she's not putting a lot of grit on her voice. I unpause it. She put some grit on her voice. I know a lot of people are going to ask about this, so I want to go ahead and address it. You see a lot of shoulder and collarbone action when she's breathing in, and very frequently, vocal coaches such as myself will say, hey, don't do that. And generally that is advisable. We don't want to be breathing up into our chest. But one thing that is important to keep in mind, and we kind of need to think about when we think about this, is she's definitely like raising her shoulders and like her upper chest, but she's still very likely breathing down into her stomach, opening up that rib cage and utilizing a lower placement of support, right? Her voice just really doesn't carry any strain or any sound of, like, to me, this looks like just a peripheral, a muscle memory habit that's not really having much impact on her voice. Could be wrong, right? She could say, no, my voice feels strained all the time. I don't think she would say that. But that's a good question. And those sorts of things, especially for new vocalists, can make it hard to watch these videos and assess what's going on, and they can be confusing. So I do see it. If you're seeing it as well, she is still likely opening up her ribs, breathing down low, hanging on to that appoggio, that open, retained inhaled posture. That's when we basically maintain the expansion of our ribs through our singing so they don't collapse in. So I'm not worried about it. I don't hear it having any effect on her voice, but let's keep going. I think she screams in this song. If not, I mean, I'm down to do a bunch of clean analysis, but normally I would have tossed that to Verona. So if so, whoops, let's keep going.
Oblivious sleep from dawn till sunset. Just indolence and peace, I feast on all of that. Awakening brings hunger, desire so intense, unquenchable thirst of pleasures minus pain.
One thing I'm really liking about this video is how well you can see her tongue. It's really like this camera quality and this angle is excellent for seeing the embouchure or the armature of her mouth and the way that she's shaping her vowels. And this is really important too, because one thing that a lot of singers, harsh vocalists as well, but singers will run into is they'll be like, okay, twang is good, right? Twang is good. But they don't want to sound so twangy. right? You don't always want to be singing like, hey, everybody, what's going on? Yeah. Like, why would you? Sounds awful. So you have to be able to darken, round out that tone. But what will happen is a lot of the time people will darken and round out by pushing the sound back down their throat, essentially undoing the twang that they have achieved. So, hey, everybody, hey, what a lot of people will do is they'll go, hey, everybody, hey. And it's got this really kind of weird swallowed sound, right? Hey, everybody. Or they'll tighten the larynx and try to like open the top of the throat. Hey, everybody, hey, hey. And it can kind of sound okay, but it has like a pressed and sound and a fatiguing effect. What you can see with her when she darkens her voice is she's doing a lot with her jaw and her tongue and her lip. And a really good exercise for this, and this is a great exercise for harsh vocalists as well, because much of the way that we turn a mid wah into a low is with the shape of our mouth. So she'll do, again, I don't know the lyrics to the melody, so I'm just going to kind of make something up, but let's say she's going, hey, it's a little abrasive. It's a little too bright. Hey, that's a little bit better. Hey, yeah, whoa, yeah, yeah. It's forward. It's still got some of that twang in it. I still have that benefit of the slight narrowing of the laryngeal funnel, but I don't sound like that scene in Dumb and Dumber where it's like, you want to hear the most annoying sound ever? I haven't seen that scene in like decades, so if I'm remembering it wrong, but I remember him doing like an sort of noise. But yeah, you can really see, and like, notice how she's scrunching up her, let me actually make this a little bit bigger so you can notice how she's like scrunching up her face here. This is a really great way to get some solid tone, or to, I guess, increase brightness, we can say, of tone in both our singing voice and our screams. And it really does make a difference, right? So let me put this back. So if I take, like, let's do this with a high scream, right? Let me get back in my lane. If I do this with a high scream, all I'm going to do is and when I start, you're going to be like, that's not a high. I know that. So when I start, it pulls that lip up, shows the teeth, and it encourages the soft palate to change. Now, these muscles aren't like intrinsically connected, but it's what our body tends to do and follow. So it's a really good way to add some brightness of tone. I tell a lot of my students, when you are singing and screaming, if you want to stick in like this rock and contemporary style, think of your primary tone drivers as being in the front of the mouth, and then we can use things like the larynx and the top of the throat as needed. They're not bad. Just steer here first. Let's keep going. There we go.
In exchange for immortality or unlimited resources of ecstasy, I've killed the fear of death and God, but I am far from standing next to decide. I'm not a theorist, I'm an expert in the science of vegetation.
This is a great video to do. I am absolutely loving the fact that we can hear what she is doing so clearly. I remember when she first, like, not first hit the scene, when Pisces happened and all of us were doing the reaction videos. You pretty much had to, right? Although it was a lot of fun. And there was like a lot of back and forth discussion, at least as I remember it at the time, of it. Oh, she's false chord. She's fry. I think she's doing something a little bit different. If you listen, you can hear, now she's got a really nice balance of distortion. She's got a great balance of distortion right now. Right now, her voice is 90 to 95% grit with little elements of vocal tone peeking out underneath. And what I am hearing is a closure of the top of the throat and like an when her voice comes through. Now mine is going to sound lower and much more shaky. And that's because my vocal anatomy is generally larger and wider open than hers is, right? So if I go, she also doesn't have that much. She's being very air permissive. She's not air dumping. She can hold on to her airflow very well, but it's not like this really cranked. It's a, her tongue is also really relaxed as well, but pulling back slightly a lot so far. I mean, we're only a little bit in, but there's a lot of like, this. sort of sound. Let's keep going. But a lot of really excellent shaping of the vowels. Absolutely love it. What she is undeniably not doing is going, or doing like the YouTube. I shouldn't say that. I'm on YouTube. But, you know, you see a lot of like fry tutorials and it's like, you know, and that it's very hard to make that into much of anything. You can use it as a stepping stone, though. You absolutely can. Anyways, she's not doing either of those things. Let's keep going.
I'm a stranger to restrictions and my purpose to existence. Yesterday's all the delicacy of life.
Yeah, when she says life, you hear a little bit of this coming through, and it sounds awesome.
The kind of happiness, of pleasure quintessence, bottomless delight is a nature human right, of pleasure quintessence. Forget a consequence,
Deterrent as an enemy of life. My corporate feel, but the hunger remains. Beyond the thrill, or your insistence. Now sadness of sanity is bred I'm fisting out. I've been searching for something new, but
Oh, you can really hear it right there. Searching for something. You know what? I'll let you hear it, but then let's talk about more interesting things.
I've been searching for something new, but the margins never close. Whoa!
So there are two things that I think are going that she does really well that this song really exemplifies. Her clean singing voice is very Her harsh vocals, her tongue is usually much farther back, and they're very
Oh, whoa, a invisible life, so blow, hey, ow.
right? And again, she's really like only adding just the amount of tension necessary, a lot less than me actually.
Whoa, ow, hey.
And it's creating this really cool tone. And I think that is part of, you know, in addition to the fact that she's just good at it, part of what adds a lot of interest and intrigue when she switches between these two vocal styles, right? We hear these two things next to each other, especially that really nice move from the scream to the singing. Notice that she had this little bit of a pause. There was a little bit of like a mental reset and then right back into it. Expertly done. Taking a beat to move from screaming to singing, hey, is very important, and finding like a mental center, right? We Kardashev played in Germany in October. We played Euroblast, and that's one of the most important things, because I do a lot of switching from screaming to singing as well. One of the most important things is to let yourself just mentally reset. I have found that to be more helpful and more valuable than any sort of like intentional mechanical movement. You're just going from your screaming, you know, hey yo, yeah yo, ooh yeah, right? Just that moment to sort of let your brain go back to blank. Excellently done. And it does require good control of the two sounds that you're going to be putting next to each other, right? But I really like how much Tatiana utilizes things like vocal placement, utilizes things such as mouth shape, tongue position, right? She's a very accurate vocalist, right? She's a very positionally accurate vocalist. And I think that you would have to be to do a lot of the sound that she's doing, right? She's capable of sounding super sludgy, but she really shines when she's doing these very intentional shifts, moving through vowels in these like, you know, full voice, twangy to breathy and light movements. Very, very cool. Let's keep going here.
Oh, blessing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, crown curse.
Oh, I'm just like, hey, whoa. Calm it down. Stop it. Jesus Christ. I was expecting a lot more. I don't know why. It does sound like she does this. It does a shift though when she moves to her high vocals, right? She's not in this same like, you know, whoa, a grand design. She's lifting, you know, but she still retains, like for me, I go straight into like this very goblin-y, like I've spent the better part of a decade trying to sound very much like a goblin, like this, right? She still maintains, like there's a lot of cohesion, right? So she's doing a lot more delicate of a gear shift, relaxing the top of the throat, moving into maybe a more Fry influenced tone for sure, right? I don't hear any strictly false chord noises in here. I don't hear any like false chord fundamental sounds, although you can use a false chord fundamental or a Fry fundamental as a way to just get your foot in the door, right? Now, if you want to make some of these more compressed, darker tones, there are a lot of different ways to do it, and there are a lot of different sounds that you can end up upon. But generally speaking, when we're creating tone like this, where we're able to hold onto the airflow for longer periods of time, we are in fact introducing tension to the tissues above the vocal folds. Not really the vocal folds themselves, although they are going to be bracing, right? We are introducing it to the tissues above. Now, the way that I like to do it is I like to take like a Cookie Monster or like Yoda voice. No Cookie Monster vocals, I know. I like to take like a Cookie Monster, or Yoda, something you doing? Oh, strong with the force he is. Hey. And I like to get that to where I feel if I'm going super low and sludgy, I'll let that, I will actually allow that to anchor my tongue.
Hey, now my tongue is kind of stuck. 3
If I'm allowing it to be a little bit more bright,
hey, strong with the force he is.
I'll create a sound that's a little less anchored in the tongue.
Hey, Mao. Oh.
Then I just start breathing through it. You can do the same, right? So you have this,
hey, hi, hey.
Now you take that and you,
hey, hi, whoa,
and you don't really have to squeeze much more than that. A lot of what you do can be just shaping, right? You can turn that,
hey.
You can do a lot with that just with tongue shape and mouth shape, right? Generally, though, if you're just getting into screaming, it's better to go for a more fundamental sound. But this is, and you can play around with this, right? Just do a funny Yoda voice, or for the Warcraft veterans among us, you know,
Zug, something need doing?
You know,
okie dokie.
Like these sorts of sounds, or the elite in Halo. But again, this is one way to do it. This is how I approach it. There are a lot of different ways to go about this. One thing I will say, and I've got a lesson coming up here in a bit, so I do need to kind of cut it short. But one thing I do want to say is none of this is going to be possible or very achievable without excellent breath support. You know, I've never seen Jinjer live, but I've seen plenty of live videos, and I've seen her do these playthroughs like this. And one thing I really want to draw attention to is how calm, cool, and collected she is. And part of the way that she is able to do that, and you will be able to do that, is by having good, excellent breath control. Good, excellent breath control. Not just, you know, following the motion of breathing down into your stomach and puffing your stomach out and then just screaming as hard as you can, but really building a link, building an understanding of what it means to breathe down into the base of the lungs, right? What it means to maintain your inhaled posture, what it means to hold a steady airflow. I go over that. I have a free warm-up course. We all have free warm-up courses. This is part of it. But I do have a free warm-up course that kind of introduces you to those concepts. I don't have enough time to go into them now, but on the KardaVoxAcademy.com website, it's totally free. You can download it, use it for your warm-ups. But here's a little way to kind of get you started. This is not going to transform your vocals. You're not going to follow these steps that I'm about to show you, and then all of a sudden you're Phil Bozeman. Ain't going to work that way. But what is going to happen is you can pay attention to the way that this feels in your body and start to learn what it means for these sounds, for these things to be connected. This is some pretty basic stuff. I did not invent it, but it's basic and has continued to be used so much because it works. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about if you had 2 weeks, all expenses paid vacation anywhere in the world, where would you go and what would you do? Type it in the comments below. Unless it's illegal, then don't. Probably should cut that part out of the video. But anyways, so what you're going to do is you're going to think, if you had, again, 2 weeks, all expenses paid vacation anywhere in the world, what would you do and where would you go? And I don't want you to think about anything, but I just want you to put your mind there. So for me, I think right now, I would probably want to go to either Portugal or Spain. Portugal or Spain. I really love the landscape. I've been to Barcelona before. It was beautiful. Never been to Portugal, but I've been to Spain, and I just loved the beach. I do know some people there. Go say what's up to my buddy Caesar. What's up, dude? If you're watching this, hell yeah. Anyway, I want you to put your mind there, and I just want you to breathe in through your nose, just like this. Go ahead and watch the screen. And your first goal, the only thing you care about right now, is your stomach expanding and staying soft. That's it. That's everything, right? I would tilt the camera down, but it's all locked into place. My setup is very much built to be kind of locked in, but I just push a couple buttons and then I go. But basically, I'm breathing down and my stomach is staying super soft. Let's move this out of the way here. Sorry, Tatiana. There you go. So I'm going to breathe in. My stomach's expanding and it's still really soft. That's it. It's still really soft. That's step one, right? Now, step two is you're going to breathe in and you're just going to go. And the only thing I care about is your ribs staying open, right? So let me see if I can do something here. All right, it's going to sound, my audio might change a little bit, but here we go. So I'm going to breathe in. Here we go, right? Notice how my ribs opened up. Stomach is soft. Now watch, my ribs are not going to deplete. Ribs are still out. That's it. That's coordination number one. Get used to that, right? If you work a job where you talk a lot, like a call center or some sort of customer service job, start your conversations that way. Hi, how can I help you? Hey, what's going on, right? Now what you're going to do is when you've got that, you're going to start to introduce some force into that airflow. You don't want to feel a big pressure buildup in your neck. You want to feel like you're holding that pressure in your chest and in your stomach, even though there's no air in your stomach. We don't breathe into our stomach. That's the sensation, right? So you breathe in. And at this point, my stomach muscles can engage. I'm going to feel like I'm pushing out a fart a little bit. And you can see my body lift because as I'm squeezing, I'm putting pressure underneath my chest and that's lifting my upper body, right? So again, once you have that, little staccato pulses. Or it wouldn't be staccato, but tiny little pulses. If you feel like you're pushing out lots of little micro farts and your body is bouncing up and down as a result, you're on the right track. You're killing it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say, right? My ribs are staying out. I don't have a pressure buildup in my neck. My stomach muscles are engaged, but not overly squeezing. And I can hold this for a very long time. Now, if you're going into a clean singing discipline, you can take this next part and put it to a scale, right? So if you're not going into a clean singing discipline, you can say, notice that bounce I've got, no squeeze in my throat. Say, right? Everything's connected. If I am going to clean singing route, I can maybe put this to a little minor scale, right? Say. Now, when you've got that, right? If you have a little bit of distortion, you can make a. And you have something. That'll take some time, but that's a little concise little package for you to work with. And if you want to see what good breath support looks like, watch a live show with Jinjer, with Tatiana. Other bands I've seen live that have excellent breath support. Taylor Barber, Left to Suffer, looks phenomenal. I've only seen him live once, but that was one of the most chill, relaxed vocalists I've ever seen in my life. Travis Ryan, Cattle to Cap, he looks pretty relaxed too. He does a lot of like this upper like pull in some of his sections, but still unequivocally downward, right? But yeah, I think my main takeaways from this song are like Tatiana has incredible breath support. I love the way she modulates her vowels and utilizes her lips and her tongue and her teeth and her jaw to shape very surgically the tone and timbre of her voice. And then of course the powerful but not constricted and somehow still air permissive whoa, hey, tone of her screams is excellent. She manages to have like this really roaring tone without the pulled back, swallowed deathcore death metal vibe that often accompanies it. So excellently done. Anyways, I gotta go. I've got a lesson coming up soon. Thank you all for watching. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.